goaltending by Bernie Perrant.
5 or 6 years there, he was the best in the game.
Most valuable player in the playoffs, Bernie Perrant.
We are one big family, and it's just a brother's a little bit younger than others, but we're all in the same family.
Flyers goalie number 1, Bernie Perrant.
I love Philly.
The face of a legend, and now certainly an angel, the Xfinity Mobile Arena, usually raucous with fans in the midst of any manner of celebration. Flyers goal, Sixers win, or a concert with a superstar headliner. Tonight, though, a celebration of a different kind. We pay tribute to the life of Bernie Perrant, who passed away 2 months ago. Tonight, Philadelphia salutes an icon of Philadelphia sports, an icon of the NHL. And we welcome you to our NBC Sports Philadelphia studio for Bernie Perrant, a celebration of life. Michael Barkan, Al Morgani joining you. And we are pleased to be joined by Chairman of Comcast Spectacor, Flyers Governor Dan Hilferty, and NHL Deputy Commissioner Bill Daly. Thank you, gentlemen, for being with us tonight. It's one of those strange evenings because we are going to celebrate Bernie. He's been gone 2 months. And it still is, it really just takes your breath away thinking about it. Your initial memories of him, because you grew up here, Dan.
That's right, Michael. As a teenager, watching those 2 years of Stanley Cup finals and on these little TVs, and then had the good fortune of coming to the second parade and just seeing Bernie go by on that float, and how excited we were as Philadelphians and young people just knowing that we had a world championship.
Mm-hmm. Bill, from the NHL perspective?
Well, from the NHL perspective, got an opportunity to work with Bernie kind of within the last 10 years or so. He obviously one of the top 100 NHL players ever in 2017, and we did a number of events that Bernie and Jeannie were very generous with their time, and got to know him as a person, and he was very special as a person, for sure.
Yeah, and Bill, unfortunately over the past few months, 3 great goaltenders, Kenny Dryden, Giacomin in New York, and now Bernie. I know every league wants to market its players, but how important is it to have people to go past their own city, like icons, to connect generations to the team?
Well, Bernie certainly would be one, right? When you think of Philadelphia Flyers hockey and you think of the Stanley Cups that the Flyers won here in 74 and 75, you think of Bernie Perrant, right? You obviously think of the rest of the team as well, but in terms of what he accomplished, particularly in those 2 seasons, it's probably unparalleled in NHL history. One of the all-time best goaltenders ever. Vezina trophies in both years.
There it is, Bill. Look at the screen right there.
Conn Smythe trophies in both years, 2 Stanley Cups. I was looking at some stats today from the 74 run, because it was personal to me, because I was a New York Rangers fan, and they beat us. And Bernie in that series, I think the Rangers averaged 33 shots a game, and he gave up 16 goals over seven games, which is remarkable. I think he had a 930 save percentage. It was just things you don't see anymore, and it was just remarkable.
Dan, take a look at the statue. We see it every day, and it is the statue of Bernie and Bob Clark hoisting the Stanley Cup upon the Flyers winning the first one. And the late, great Fred Shiro told his guys right before Game 6, "We win today, we walk together forever." And quite literally, I think that's true, don't you? Even through death.
I agree. Michael, I think about a recent story. The last time I saw Bernie was at the night in Venice in Ocean City. We were on the boat with Gritty, and I thought Gritty would steal the show. As we approached every house, there were chants of Bernie, Bernie, Bernie. And it really spoke to what that statue speaks to, this history, this memory, these foundational titans of our franchise, of our city, really stood up in a way that we lived well beyond the years.
Yeah, but also this Flyers team, let's be honest, we're getting there currently, but it's been a little while, and to have Bernie as the face of the franchise, certainly Bob as the face of the franchise, and those other Flyers greats to carry through all these years later, even to fans who weren't born, who knew Bernie upon sight.
Well, you know, our motto this year is brick by brick. Well, the original foundational bricks were those great players that you mentioned, Clarkie and Bernie and Billy Barber and many others. And we're building it. We're building it upon that. We're beginning to see the results, but it really starts with those who led the way.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Bill, how important is it for a league to have guys like Gordie Howe, Bobby Orr, LaFleur, and like Bernie Perrant, to have guys like that you can look back upon and have kids, even teenagers, kind of relate to a name like that, like Bernie Perrant, Gordie Howe, or those guys?
Well, I've always felt like our one of our strengths as a league and as a sport is our history, and the great players who made our history over time, and that's why we have such a good and close relationship with our alumni association, because we think that is really foundational for any sports league to really connect with their past and to celebrate their past. And obviously this is a great example of like a remarkable sports story that happened in the mid-'70s that we should celebrate as a league, and certainly that's my view.
There was a church, as you probably well know, during the Flyers run and those cup runs, put up a sign that says, "Only the Lord saves more than Bernie Perrant." What's the reputation? Talk about celebrating as a league, Bill. Just we love him here in Philadelphia. He's an icon of Philadelphia. How does that resonate around the NHL?
I think it resonates for sure, and you know, Al and I were talking before we came on air about how, you know, that Flyer team resonates with the entire community. I would expand that to really the entire league. It was a remarkable moment in time and in history, and you've seen documentaries made about it, and it was remarkable. And he was, you know, a cornerstone of that franchise. So that's...
Yeah, it's pretty amazing when you think about, go back to the 70s. Ironically, Rocky came out right afterwards. Those Flyers were Rocky before Rocky. When you think about it, to win a championship as an underdog and be so physical, you know,
Al, we've always been an underdog city, and I just, the way they came out of nowhere and took the whole nation by storm is a true Philadelphia story. And then the mythical Rocky comes along, and it really speaks to who we are as a community, who we are as sports fans, and who we are as Philadelphians.
And then you find out they're nice guys. That was kind of...
It really ruined the story.
I think Bernie was on the cover of Time magazine,
yes.
and I think there was a gift that I got at some point in time that I had in my gym, like a Bernie Time magazine autograph that was like, it's still a prized possession, I guess.
Absolutely.
Gentlemen, we've got to go. Look forward to your remarks tonight on a bittersweet occasion. We miss him already. It's been 2 months, but we're looking forward to this celebration of life. Dan Hilferty and Bill Daly, thank you for joining us tonight. We'll take a quick break, and we're taking you right up to 6 o'clock and the ceremony at the top of the hour here at Xfinity Mobile Arena. Bernie Perrant, a celebration of life. We'll be right back with 2 more very special guests.
Are deliriously happy here.
If you're from Philadelphia, that iconic call is part of the soundtrack of your life. Gene Hart, voice tremulous, exalting the Flyers' first Stanley Cup win, May 19th, 1974. And our next 2 guests were both on that ice that night. We welcome Bob Clark and Bill Clement. Great to see you both. as I said to our two previous guests, it's bittersweet because we're talking about Bernie. I wish he was still here right among us. Yeah. But when you first met him, Bob, what were your impressions of Bernard Marcel Perron?
I guess that he was a little wacky. We're telling the truth tonight.
Yeah, we're telling the truth.
You beat me to it.
I mean, it's
quirky. I would call him quirky.
That's probably a better word. But he was extremely friendly and goofy, you know. Say goofy things, do goofy things, and he'd meet people in the airports and talking. And just one of those guys who's fun to be around.
Yeah, just like you, right? Bill?
Bernie, you know, the goalies always had the reputation of being odd or different or whatever. Bernie was the poster goalie for that slogan about them being a little quirky and a little different. That was Bernie, but he was a gentle soul. I mean, you know, when you talk about the Broad Street Bullies, he was our Broad Street backup. He wasn't a Broad Street bully. You know, he was a gentleman, a real gentleman.
Yeah, I think you guys were the last team, all Canadians, to win a cup, like all Canadian citizens to win a cup. But you speak French. You're from, I guess, French part of Ontario. Was there anything about Bernie? French?
I'm from Quebec.
Quebec.
Don't ever say that I'm from
Ontario.
Mon Dieu.
But I mean, was there a comfort level with him? I mean, I remember at that time sometimes it could be uncomfortable with guys of French speaking to kind of fit in here in Philadelphia.
I didn't know the Westerners hated the Easterners so much until I turned pro. I mean, there was a real thing. I mean, the Westerners hated French guys and hated Easterners in general. And I grew up in Quebec, so I didn't know what was going on. But Bernie didn't seem to care whether you came from Mars or you know, the house next door. He just loved everybody and wanted to have fun with everybody.
What was he like as a teammate, Bob?
Well, the interesting thing about Bernie, he was a great teammate, but when you play hockey, you have a short career in your life. And when you win a championship, like we did win 2, that brings everything even shorter in your life. But in a person like Bernie was a father and a grandfather and a husband and a hunter and a fisherman, everything. Like, you know, his life was bigger than winning 2 Stanley Cups. He was just one of those types of people, you know?
Yeah, that's beautifully put. It really was. We talked about the French Connection all the time. I never had the pleasure of being on the boat myself. But I've heard about it.
But you've got blue glasses and they look really good.
Thank you. He would have let me on today. But when you listen to what Bob said, and I said this to both Dan and Bill, Freddie Shiro had said, we win today, we walk together forever. And you did, and you are, and you will. And it transcends everything, doesn't it? Even the ultimate.
Yeah, it's hard to put into words what it means.
Yeah.
And a lot of people have asked me over the years, wow, that must have been really moving when you walked in and saw that written there. And I said, if you think I stopped and contemplated those words at that point when I'm trying to get ready for a Game 6, you're wrong. It didn't sink in until after. I don't know about you.
Long after.
Yeah.
Long after well, even when you win it at the time, there's all the excitement and everything's going on, but you never know the effect it's going to have on your life.
Yeah.
And those 2 cups that we won here, it affected all our lives. For the length of our lives, it was a big part of our lives.
Yeah.
Could you guys have played that style without Bernie? I mean, to take the penalties, and obviously he just stopped everything those couple of years.
I would say no. I think that we had a team that everybody played the best they could possibly play, including Bernie. But if you took Bernie out, we probably wouldn't have won. That's how important and how good he played for those 2 years.
We had an advantage against every team we played against, even when Bernie was in. I mean, Bernie was easily, I think, the best goalie in the world for 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
And we were all fortunate enough to be in the right place at the right time with Bernie.
I've got to let you go, you two Hall of Famers, you. I wish I didn't, but we're going to hear your remarks coming up during the next hour as we pay tribute to the life of Bernie Parent. Thanks so much, Bob.
All right, Mike, thank
Great
you.
to see you both
Good to see
again.
you.
I wish it was under other circumstances, but still beautiful nonetheless. You were so great in talking about your friend. We thank Bob and Bill for joining us. They'll head down for the ceremony now, and we're with you throughout the duration of tonight's ceremony. Bernie Parent, a celebration of life. We'll be right back.
In on goal, and Bernie Parent sliding down. Gets another standing ovation from the crowd here. Breakaway in on Bernie. And Parent makes the save and covers up.
Wow. Wow.
He's going to take one last skate here. Point to the Rangers. And hear it from over 40,000 fans.
As fans continue to enter the Xfinity Mobile Arena. But Al Morgani, who joins me, we reflect back to 2010, 2011, and the Winter Classic. And I want to say Ron Duguay deserves as much praise as Bernie Parent for making the save, because Duguay could have, I mean, he wouldn't have gotten out of there alive.
No, that was, it's funny. You see this resume here, you know, what he did, the Vezina trophies, Stanley Cups and everything. And I think a lot of people will put that quote save on Dukes right up near it because so many people tuned in. I think that was Messier that went and congratulated him afterwards.
Yeah.
You saw the Ranger bench. I mean, there are people that are icons for teams. Certainly, you got got certain guys, Mike Schmidt, whatever. But then there are guys that are icons for an entire sport. And Bernie was one of those. When you see a Ranger bench erupt like that for Bernie Parent and the way everybody related to him, and mind you, it's a long time after his career to go out there and make that save like that. And just, you had a good feeling when you were around Bernie Parent, and he became a real citizen of the sport of hockey.
He did, but at the same time, not just hockey. Huh. He was really, when you saw Bernie, he was one of the few persons in your life that smile as soon as you saw him, and he would return it, obviously. He'd be smiling first, but he was like Santa Claus when you met him.
It really, you go up there and he's happy, cigar in his mouth or whatever it is, and he's like, this is going to be a good day. Bernie Parent's here. How many golf tournaments would you go to? And like, some guys arrive, you know, they have to be there kind of thing, but Bernie, even if he only putted after his back surgeries or whatever, everybody knew that he was there, said hello to everybody, everybody took the picture with him. And Michael, those Stanley Cup rings that he would bring, and I swear to God, if you were in the Old West and you were the guy that pull up two guns on you, it was the same thing. He'd just take and put those rings out there. It's like, I don't care. I can go through any door in the planet. These rings are going to get me into any place I want to go. This is my calling card. This is my ID. This is my passport right here. These two championship rings.
Oh, man. What the stories. That's the best part. That's what we're left with, and there are going to be plenty more to come. The ceremony for Bernie Parent is straight ahead at Xfinity Mobile Arena. Stay with us on NBC Sports Philadelphia. That is our friend, the NFL, the Pro Football Hall of Famer, Ray Dittinger, with Marcus Hayes of the Philadelphia Inquirer on the left. And I saw Ray earlier today, and he said he was going to attend tonight, and by goodness, there he is at the Xfinity Mobile Arena and paying tribute to his friend, Bernie Parent. We'll take a break. We're back with more. Podium from which tonight's speakers will address all the fans who have come to honor the memory of Bernie Parent. And there may be as many as 4,000. We're hearing more along the lines of 2,500, maybe 3,000 fans on an off night. Flyers played last night. They play tomorrow, and the team will not be in attendance tonight.
The team's already been to the other memorial service. Yes,
exactly right. Who are you most looking forward to hearing from?
I think Bob Clark or Joe Watson. We'll see some of the memories that they have of Bernie.
All right, we'll take another time out. We come back, and we are back with the ceremony here live from Xfinity Mobile Arena as the Flyers and the city of Philadelphia celebrate the life of Bernie Parent. Back as we get ready to hear from those who honor the memory of Bernie Parent. Al Morgani, I'm Michael Barkan, and this is one of those times in Philadelphia sports that unfortunately we have to go through. We have to say goodbye to Bernie, and at 80 years of age, it still seems stunning that he is gone. There were no indications of anything, and then 2 months ago, he wasn't with us anymore.
Yeah, it does, but
tough
you
to
know,
process.
in sports, Michael, you wonder about, I mean, the name goes on forever. I mean, we just had the 40th anniversary of Pelle Lindbergh's passing, and you're talking 50 years since the Flyers won a cup. I mean, we've got this a terrific pin with the Bernie mask. I mean, it's funny, you don't want to say the word forever, but when you play in Philadelphia and you have that level, this is going to be forever. That people somehow will relate back to Bernie Parent and to that team, but Parent in particular, because of all that he's done. Imagine that many years since last playing a game to still be ingrained in a community the way Bernie Parent was.
Yeah.
It was just huge. From all the things that happened, I mean, what an unbelievable career to go in and go from an expansion draft from the Bruins to go back and forth, to go in a league that didn't go anywhere, the WHA, come back to Philadelphia, an incredible career. And then to cap it off with, as everybody kept saying, some of the best years ever played by any goaltender in the history of the league.
13-year career. You look at the top line, selected by the Flyers in the expansion draft in 1967, traded to the Leafs 3 years later, played a couple of seasons for the 3 seasons for the Flyers, traded to the Flyers from the Leafs in '73, and then boom, has 2 amazing seasons in which he wins the Conn Smythe and the Vezina in each of those 2 cup-winning seasons, and that is incredible. 5-time All-Star.
Yeah.
So it wasn't just those 2 seasons.
Oh, no.
And then we also have to talk about he had an accident, got poked.
Well, yeah, the eye injury that ended the career, and that's why when you look at the mask, after this mask, I mean, I know Pelle won, but this is when every goaltender basically around the planet went to a cage because of what happened to Bernie, that the stick could get through the eye slot in this thing. So it was a revolution in goaltending equipment to come in, and Bernie, everybody says, what's your memories of Bernie? And it's so many off the ice things, but I remember particularly the sense of humor that he had also. Remember back in the day, they weren't making $60 million a year. And it was just at the time, Michael, where they were starting to have like diets, athletes have these great diets. And somebody wrote a book, Eat to Win. And Bernie says, eat to win? I had to win to eat. that's what I
back in that day.
That's what I had to do. That's the momentum I had to have. That we had to win to kind of get ahead, and he was at the forefront of that.
Yeah, take a look at Flyer Eric, as we call him. He's got a shaved head and he's got his tats up, and with the Flyers logo, he's watching from the stands. And there are several thousand fans that are going to be watching this ceremony tonight, and he is one of them. When you look at the way Bernie played the game, the way he was in the locker room, and Bob Clark, if you listen to our former guest, Bill Clement, said he was the greatest leader I ever played with, Bob Clark.
Yes.
But Bernie did it in his own way. And it wasn't as in your face maybe as Bob in the dressing room, but he got it done.
He's a goalie, and there aren't many positions in sports where just stop the puck. I don't care if you're selfish about it or whatever. You're going to help us stop the puck. But you earn your work because of everything you do in the locker room.
Here's Lou Nolan, MC for the ceremony tonight.
this evening at Xfinity Mobile Arena as we celebrate the life of an NHL and Flyers legend, Bernie Parent. Bernie's legacy and presence touched countless fans throughout the hockey world and made a deep impact on our Philadelphia community. On the ice, Bernie was an original Flyer and helped turn the franchise into 2 Stanley Cup champions. He backstopped the Flyers to their first Stanley Cup in 1974 and defended the team's title the very next season, capturing the second Stanley Cup in 1975. Bernie had shutout performances both years in each of the series, clinching games, and was awarded the Conn Smythe Trophy as the NHL's most valuable player in the playoffs. As a Flyer, Bernie is one of 6 players to have their number retired and became the first member of the team inducted into the Hockey Hall of Fame. That was in 1984. He was also one of 2 Flyers inducted in the inaugural class of the Flyers Hall of Fame, established in 1988. Off the ice, Bernie was a cornerstone of the Flyers Alumni Association. He played a leading role in strengthening the association's presence through community events, charitable initiatives, and alumni gatherings, and always made time to connect with fans. From school visits and youth hockey clinics to milestone celebrations and fundraisers, Bernie's involvement brought visibility, credibility, and heart to both the Flyers organization and the Flyers Alumni Association, leaving a legacy that spanned generations. Additionally, Bernie was a 20-year ambassador for Ed Snyder Youth Hockey and Education, helping to grow the game and preparing student athletes to succeed in the game of life. Bernie leaves a legacy that continues to shape the game's future. This evening, we'll hear from leadership at the Philadelphia Flyers, National Hockey League, and our own City Council, as well as family, friends, and alumni about Bernie's legendary career and life. As the program begins, a reminder, please be respectful and silence any phones or electronics. Now, please join me in standing and removing your hats as we welcome to the stage the #1 ranked anthemist in the NHL, our very own Lauren Hart, to sing God Bless America.
Bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with the light from above. From the mountains to the prairies to the oceans white with foam. God bless America, my home, sweet home. From the mountains to the prairies to the oceans white with foam. God bless America, my home, sweet home. God bless America, our home, sweet home. Thank you.
Wonderful job, Lauren. Outstanding, as always. We now welcome to the stage Comcast Spectacor's Chairman and CEO and Governor of the Philadelphia Flyers, Dan Hilferty.
Thank you, Lou.
Welcome, Dan.
Yeah, thanks, Lou. Thank you, Lou. Good evening, everyone. It is an honor to stand before you today to celebrate the life of a man who is a hockey legend and so much more. Bernie Parent was the heart and soul, with our other Flyers here, of this beloved city, and he was a true figure. Bernie was simply a goaltender. He was more than that. He was a force of nature. His brilliance between the pipes brought us 2 Stanley Cups. Back-to-back Conn Smythe. Yes, that's right. Back-to-back Conn Smythe and Vezina trophies, and a career that places him amongst the greatest to ever play the game. Bernie famously said, you do not have to be crazy to be a goalie, but it helps. Well, I think that we all would agree that whatever brand of crazy Bernie was, our city has been a better place for it. His combination of humor, confidence, and incredible work ethic made him an icon on and off the ice. Because Bernie's legacy cannot simply be measured in wins or shutouts, it is also measured in the joy he brought to fans, the pride he instilled in this franchise, and the warmth he shared with everyone he met. Bernie was a titan of our franchise. For many, he is the quintessential Philadelphia Flyer. You cannot tell the story of the Flyers without talking at length about Bernie Parent. And as we talk about our players now, building the team brick by brick, well, it's safe to say that Bernie laid the foundation, along with his Stanley Cup teammates who are all with us this evening. As we thought about the program for this evening, we wanted to leave you with a lasting impression of Bernie in all aspects of his life. You'll hear about Bernie as a hockey legend, a teammate, a spouse, a father, and a community activist. Bernie was the embodiment of resilience, optimism, and community. Whether he was mentoring young players, supporting Ed Snyder Youth Hockey and Education, or simply lighting up a room with his smile, Bernie made people feel seen, valued, and inspired. And he lived that every day. He brought that spirit to the locker room, to the community, and to the generations of fans who grew up watching him play, and later, watching him lead by example. Bernie and his iconic mask may have been the last thing opposing shooters wanted to see, but for our city, he was always a warm and welcome sight. Bernie's number hangs in our rafters, and his legacy is already etched into the very DNA of our franchise. We often don't realize how much someone gives of themselves until they're gone. Winston Churchill once said, "We make a living by what we get, but we make a life by what we give." And standing here together, it's clearer than ever just how much Bernie gave. So today, we honor his memory, his legacy, and his irreplaceable impact on all of us. To Jeannie and the rest of Bernie's family, to his teammates, and to the fans who adored him, thank you for sharing him with us. His legacy will forever be stitched into the fabric of this franchise, and his spirit will always, always be with us. It's a beautiful thing. Thank you very much.
Bernie, Bernie, Bernie. And that can only mean St. Bernard, Philadelphia's own. He's not just a great goaltender, we all know that, but he's just a great human being, too.
Bernie, magnificent game. Magnificent game. What can you say? Nothing at the moment, huh? I'm sorry, I can't.
Philadelphia has always been a city built on belief. Belief in hard work, in loyalty, in each other.
Our sports teams are part of our identity. Our athletes, reflections of who we are. And for a time, Philly's identity lived inside the crease. His name was Bernie.
I think we proved to ourselves and to people that we're the champ, man.
He wasn't just our goaltender. He was our calm, our certainty. He didn't fight the game, he embraced it. When Bernie was in net, everything was possible. He had a style all his own, an unparalleled competitive spirit that etched his name into hockey history. In back-to-back seasons, Bernie delivered 2 Vezina trophies, 2 Conn Smythes, 2 Stanley Cups, and 2 parades for Philadelphia, something the National Hockey League has never seen before. But the records, the banners, the legendary moments, they only tell part of the story.
So you want to be a goalie, eh?
Yeah, I sure do.
Bernie Parent wasn't just a champion on the ice. He became an icon of goodwill far beyond it. He stayed connected to this city, to his city, and to the game that shaped him. He mentored young goaltenders and dedicated his time to Ed Snider youth hockey and education. He didn't just meet people, he inspired them. He made everyone feel seen, valued, and remembered. No one ever gave more heart to this organization than Bernie Parent. From the first player ever drafted by the Flyers to simply Bernie. Number 1 in the rafters, number 1 in our hearts, and a one-name legacy for the beloved man behind the iconic mask.
Bernie, you've reached the top, and you've taken a lot of us with you. And that's not a line, I really mean it. On behalf of the Flyers organization and the entire city of Philadelphia, I have just one thing to say. Thank you, Bernie.
Up next, please welcome Deputy Commissioner of the National Hockey League, Bill Daly. Bill's work has had significant positive impact, and we are honored he's joined us this evening to celebrate a legend.
On behalf of the National Hockey League, I was truly honored to have been asked to offer remarks about my memories of the great Bernie Parent and the legacy he created and left within our league, both during his career and after. But before I focus on Bernie specifically, I would be remiss if I didn't also pay my respects to the one person who was most responsible for the Flyers' improbable success in the 1970s and thereafter, Mr. Ed Snider. Without Ed's vision, passion, loyalty, and drive, not only does Bernie Parent not win 2 Stanley Cups, but the Philadelphia Flyers clearly would not have attained the same level of universal respect and first-class reputation as they enjoy today. Ed Snider set the bar for what great ownership can accomplish. Now on to Bernie. The Flyers' early successes as part of our 1967 6-team expansion, winning a Stanley Cup in only their 7th season in the NHL, paved the way for a league that was, at the time, in desperate need of an expanded footprint. The Broad Street Bullies, as they were affectionately known in some circles, provided a model for success for future NHL expansion franchises and played a critical role in transforming the league from a small, largely regional sporting organization to a league that now competes aggressively with other professional sports on a national and even global basis. Bernie Parent was one of the key participants in laying the foundation for that success. Bernie led the Flyers to back-to-back Stanley Cup championships in 1974 and 1975, And I think most people would freely acknowledge that neither of those Cup wins would have been possible in the absence of Bernie manning the Flyers net on an almost nightly basis. Bernie recorded phenomenal statistics in both seasons, earning him the Vezina Trophy as the most valuable goaltender in the National Hockey League in each of 1974 and 1975. As, or even more impressively, Bernie followed up both of those regular season awards with Conn Smythe trophies as the playoff MVP in each of the same 2 seasons. As most know, Bernie's career was tragically cut short by a freak eye injury he suffered during the 1978-79 season, but not before Bernie had already established himself as one of the greatest goaltenders in NHL history. Bernie was inducted into the Hockey Hall of Fame in 1984, and he was later recognized as one of the NHL's top 100 players of all time during the NHL's centennial season in 2017. My personal recollections of Bernie are of 2 varieties and in 2 capacities. First, as a fan, Bernie contributed to breaking the heart of a 10-year-old boy in 1974. Yes, that would be me. Yes, I was raised as a die-hard New York Rangers fan, growing up in North Jersey, passionately committed to the team despite years and years of postseason failure. 1974 was supposed to be a different year for the Rangers. Finally, an opportunity to win a Stanley Cup. But Bernie and the Flyers had different ideas. Bernie stood tall for the Flyers on the way to a hard-fought, heartbreaking 7-game semifinal series win, sending Rangers fans, including myself, home empty yet again. It would be 20 more years before the Rangers were finally able to raise a Stanley Cup. Many years later, my experiences with Bernie became more personal. I had the sincere pleasure of getting to know Bernie through a host of professional interactions in connection with the celebration of the league's centennial season. Bernie and his wife Jeannie never hesitated to volunteer their time and energy in support of league events and initiatives promoting our year-long celebration of hockey excellence. Those interactions were relatively frequent and allowed me to appreciate all the qualities that made Bernie such a special person: smart, polite, humble, passionate, charitable, and simply exceptional at what he did, both on and off the ice. Bernie often was described fondly in hockey circles as one of the league's greatest stand-up goalies ever. More importantly, however, Bernie was always a stand-up man. He is greatly missed, but will never be forgotten. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. Bernie Parent and his soulmate, Jeannie, were inseparable, united by their mutual love and passion for the Philadelphia Flyers and the Ed Snyder Youth Hockey and Education Program. They never missed a Snyder hockey event, whether it was Bernie's fishing tournament, the Snyder Cup, Thanksgiving meal giveaways, hospital visits, or other fundraising opportunities. They shared their love with all of us. Here to talk about her soulmate is Jeannie Parent.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone, and thank you for being here. Standing here tonight in front of people who loved Bernie, admired him, and felt connected to him is both incredibly emotional and comforting. You were such a huge part of his life. Bernie didn't just play for the Flyers. He played for you, the fans. He signed autographs for you, shared stories with you, laughed with you, and gave so much of himself because he genuinely loved people. He loved his fans, and seeing all of you here today reminds me just how powerful that connection truly was. Bernie always said the fans were the heartbeat of hockey, and he meant every word. One of the questions people would ask me most was, is Bernie really like this at home? And my answer was always the same: absolutely. That's exactly why I married him. Bernie woke up every single day with a positive attitude. Every morning began the same way, with his coffee, his prayers, and whatever book he was reading at the time. Usually something full of wisdom or positive reinforcement. That was Bernie. He believed in starting the day with intention, with gratitude, and with the belief that something good was always on the horizon. And that belief wasn't just for himself. Bernie impacted thousands of people, fans, friends, teammates, and even strangers he met for only a moment. He inspired people to pursue their dreams, set goals, and follow their passion with courage. He didn't just talk about positivity, he lived it and shared it generously. Bernie made me a better person. He taught me to be more patient, more loving, kinder, more humble. He taught me the importance of being present and enjoying the moment you're in. And he showed me over and over that if something doesn't work out, it's only because something better is coming. Together, we were a team. I want to thank Philadelphia Flyers and Flyers alumni, particularly Dan Hilferty, Blair Listino, Keith Jones, Danny Briere, Rick Tockett, the front office, the training team, the men who wear and wore the orange and black, for their unwavering support during Bernie's remarkable career and long after he hung up his skates. The Flyers were not just an organization to him, they were family. They embraced him, celebrated him, and stood by him through every chapter of his life. Their love and respect meant the world to Bernie, and it means the world to me and our families now. Ed Snyder Youth Hockey and Education meant the world to my husband. This wasn't just something Bernie supported, it was his passion and his dream. He wanted to use the game he loved to teach young people discipline, teamwork, and the importance of believing in themselves, on the ice and in life. He poured his heart into this mission, and his legacy lives on in every player, every coach, and every family touched by this incredible program. I am so deeply honored to be named an ambassador for Ed Snyder Youth Hockey and Education, and will proudly continue Bernie's work. Thank you. Thank you. I'll keep his spirit alive through his social media pages, sharing his wisdom, humor, and love for the game. I will continue supporting Ed Snyder Youth Hockey and Education and the Flyers in everything they do to carry forward his mission. I want to say thank you to everyone at Ed Snyder Youth Hockey and Education, particularly Scott Tharp, Bill Whitmore, and the board for this honor, for your trust in me, and for everything you meant to Bernie. I'd also like to thank Bill Daly from the National Hockey League for being here today. Please extend my gratitude to Commissioner Bettman and everyone at the league office who have been wonderful to me and our family. Also, Kenyatta Johnson. Yes, you, yes. Thank you for being here today. It means so much to me and our family to see you and know City Council is being represented here today. By the way, in my new role as an ambassador for Snyder Hockey, expect a call from me soon. Bernie's light will continue to shine through the lives he inspired, the lessons he taught, and the community he helped build. He always said that life was about giving back, lifting others, and leading with love. And thanks to each and every one of you, the light will never dim. Thank you, and let's go Flyers! Woo!
Thank you, Jeannie, for those moving words and for continuing to spread Bernie's legacy and mission. Next, please turn your attention once again to the main video board for additional words about Bernie from those closest to him, including his daughter Kim Perrant, Flyers General Manager Danny Briere, Flyers President of Hockey Operations and alternate Governor Keith Jones, and Flyers Head Coach Rick Tocchet.
From the moment I came into this world, my dad and I were, in his words, two peas in a pod. There was an unspoken language between us, smiles, laughs, a little nudge of the elbow that just, we knew each other so well, so we didn't even have to speak to understand what we were saying to each other. Some of my favorite memories of my dad are the mornings on his boat, sitting outside with our cups of coffee and everyone was still asleep, listening to the birds and just having some really good laughs or deep conversations, and they're memories that I will carry with me for the rest of my life. My dad was such a unique person, such a unique soul. I call him a unicorn in this world because there aren't people like him out there. And I'm so lucky and blessed that I was able to be his daughter, his only daughter. Like, how lucky am I? I'm so grateful. And the bond that we shared was something that means the world to me. Of course, there was hockey. It was his career, but the Flyers were his family. The career meant so much to him, not just the trophies and the wins, but Mr. Snyder, his teammates, the fans, the community that always stood by him and supported him, and he never forgot that. He treated every fan like a friend, and He never didn't have time to shake someone's hand or sign an autograph or take a picture. He always showed respect to anyone that came up to him. But what made my dad light up the most was being a pop. He loved Sammy, Kate, Maddie, Tina, Bernie, Jake with all of his heart and soul. He held each of them as newborn babies with tears in his eyes and just continued to love the hell out of them as they grew. We always knew that when Pop was involved, there'd be a lot of laughing, and the kids cherished all of it. The way he looked at his kids and grandkids, the way his eyes would light up and sparkle the minute we walked into a room was just, as in his words, a beautiful thing. I miss his voice, I miss his hugs, I miss his laughter, I miss just his presence in general. I miss the steady strength he gave me just by a hug. He wasn't just my father, he was my best friend. He was my rock. He was my soft place to land. He was my ally. And I will miss him for the rest of my life. What I probably miss the most right now is just him putting his hands on my shoulders and looking in my eye and saying, "Baby, I love you so much." And God, I loved hearing that from him and just experiencing the bond of a father and daughter like we had. My dad would always say, "Keep smiling, baby. You're alive. Life is beautiful. Wow." And I know he's saying that to me now, and he wants me to smile and not be sad, as hard as it is. So Dad, Pop, great-grandpa, friend, legend, family member, and the best partner in crime a daughter could have. I love you so much. Thank you for the wonderful and beautiful life that you provided for me, Bernie, Chuck, and Mom. Thank you for the magical world you created for your grandkids every chance you got. Thank you for showing me to live life with passion and magic and love and joy. And I'll carry that with me for the rest of my life. I think of you and miss you every minute of every day. 2 peas, 1 pod, always. I love you.
Yeah, I think as a young player coming into a business, there's a lot of pressure being an 18, 19-year-old, and you know, you look for people in your environment that really help you, and Bernie was that guy. Larger than life, very sincere person. He would come with a smile on his face, and he had a lot of character. You know, he had time for people. I remember as a young kid too, I'd watch him come to the rink and there's some kids around and they'd ask for an autograph. He'd always stop. He'd always talk to the mothers and the fathers. He had time for everybody. Yeah, for me personally, as a young kid, you know, there's lots of lows and highs. And during the lowest times, you know, having a bad game or a bad stretch, maybe not playing, not dressing in the game, Bernie would come to your stall and he would go, "Hey man, you're playing really well." Or he'd say, "Hey, I watched you practice today. Wow, you look fast out there." And I wasn't the fastest skater. So my point is that he always made you feel important, even the lowest times. And I think that really helped me. It helped my growth as a player, got me through the low times. So I owe a lot to Bernie for that, the environment he set for me to help me thrive when I was with the Flyers.
Being French Canadian, I've had a lot of interactions with Bernie over the years. He's always happy, he's always in a good mood. Whenever you get in a conversation with him, he makes you feel like you're the only thing that matters at this moment. Always a blast to be around. The work that he's done with Snyder Hockey has been amazing. I have many stories with Bernie, nothing that I can really share, but it's just every time you're with him, it's just the way he makes you feel. The city of Philadelphia and the Flyers organization are very lucky to have had a person like Bernie come through here.
Well, he made me smile, and I think that's something that he did for every person that he ran into because of his joy for life, his appreciation of the Flyers. He represented the team with class, but also with a big smile. I think fans really appreciated that. He took the time to talk to them, not just fans, but to former players and others around the organization. He really cared about people. Well, he would come into WIP a lot when I was doing radio there, and he always came in with so much energy, but he always was willing to share his time with others, especially kids. I can remember numerous occasions where he had his Stanley Cup rings and he would share them. You look over and there's a couple of kids wearing his rings around the studio. So I think that's something that I think fans really appreciated, but I think we all can learn from, because he took the time to make sure he shared his success with everybody else.
It's incredible to hear the impact Bernie had on others, this organization, the league, and hockey worldwide. Next, please join me in welcoming to the stage a very important leader in the city of Philadelphia, Council President Kenyatta Johnson. Council President Kenyatta Johnson represents the 2nd Council District, including parts of Center City, South Philadelphia, and Southwest Philadelphia.
Good evening, everyone. This is a celebration of the life of Bernie Parent. Good evening, everyone. It is truly an honor and a privilege to be here as we celebrate Bernie Parent, who I believe is the greatest hockey goaltender of all time. Let's give that a real big round of applause. Yeah. I want to take a moment and also acknowledge Mr. Dan Hilfe, who is the chair of Comcast Spectre Corps. Let's give him a round of applause as well. And also the Flyers organization. Let's give a round of applause to the Flyers as well. You know, Bernie Parent represents the best that the city of Philadelphia has to offer. Our spirit, our grit, and most importantly, our fight. Being a part of the Broad Street Bullies, he made sure that the Philadelphia Flyers are put on the map nationally. And most importantly, he was not only a great athlete on the ice, he was a great human being off the ice. And so it's truly an honor and a privilege to recognize him this evening, but most importantly, make sure as the city of Philadelphia, we continue to carry on his life and legacy. And because we're at a memorial service, you know, my nana taught me as a young man that to be absent from the body is to be present with the Lord. And what that means for me, that Bernie is sitting down right now, watching all of us. I'm going to ask for everyone to stand. Let's give him a real big round of applause and show him how much we really, really appreciate him. Yeah. That's their fighting Philadelphia spirit. And so I'm going to ask for Mr. Dan Hilfe to join me on the stage, and also Jeannie Parent. And Jeannie, listen, before you even call me, I'm already going to pledge $5,000 to the Ed Snyder Hockey Foundation to continue on the life and legacy and the work that Bernie Parent is doing. So come on up to the stage as I present this resolution on behalf of the city of Philadelphia. And it reads, honoring and recognizing the life and legacy of Philadelphia Flyers goaltender and hockey Hall of Famer Bernie Parent on the occasion of his passing for his outstanding contributions to the sport of hockey and the Philadelphia community. Whereas this legislative body extends its deep appreciation for the indelible mark Bernie Parent left on hockey and the Philadelphia community, now therefore be it resolved that the Council of the City of Philadelphia hereby honors and recognizes the life and legacy of Philadelphia Flyers goaltender and Hockey Hall of Famer Bernie Parent on the occasion of his passing for his outstanding contributions to the sport of hockey and the Philadelphia community. Further resolved that an engrossed copy of this resolution be presented to the family of Bernie Parent as a token of sincere admiration of this legislative body. On behalf of the City of Philadelphia, Jeannie, I just want to say congratulations and keep up the good work, and God bless you.
Thank you, Council President Johnson. For the past 20 years, Bernie served as an ambassador to Ed Snyder Youth Hockey and Education. But he was more than an ambassador. It was a passion of his to be a champion in helping these young men and women succeed in the game of life. Our next speaker, Scott Tharp, is the president and CEO of Ed Snyder Youth Hockey and Education and was one of Bernie's closest and dearest friends. Scott is devoted to public service and has long believed that sport can be a powerful force in youth and career development. The mission of the Ed Snyder Youth Hockey and Education is to create opportunities for under-resourced youth of the greater Philadelphia region to prosper in life. This was very near and dear to Bernie. Scott is joined on the stage by a number of Ed Snyder student athletes involved in these life-changing programs and opportunities. Please give a warm round of applause for Scott and Ed Snyder Youth Hockey and Education.
First of all, Kenyatta, thank you so much, and I'm going to do something right now. Basically, I want you to know that our support organization, the Ed Snyder Youth Hockey and Education Support Organization, is going to match that $5,000 2-to-1. So we're going to triple your donation and triple the impact on young men and women like this. Much appreciated. Being one of the last speakers, I'm probably going to be a little repetitious, but when it comes to shouting out Bernie's accolades, I don't think Bernie would mind if I repeat a few things. The world will remember Bernie Parent as a Hall of Fame hockey player, a Stanley Cup champion. But those who knew him will remember Bernie as a Hall of Fame human being, a champion of life. Bernard Marcel Parent was one of a kind. He was bigger than life, but never too big to sign an autograph, shake a hand, take a picture while proudly showing off his rings. This was Bernie, a man with a heart as big as the sky and an unbridled passion and love for life, especially for Mr. Snyder's Flyers, his teammates, his fans, the city he adopted, and most of all, his beloved wife, Jeannie. Bernie could sometimes be an HR nightmare, though. I can tell you, he never strapped on the pads for Team Woke. But we always knew his intentions were always the best, because Bernie only ever saw good in others. He never strayed from the bright side of the street. I'll give you a story about that. Several years ago, the Flyers alumni played the Washington alumni in Hershey in an outdoor ballpark game. And Bernie and Jeannie said, well, you guys live on the way, we're going to pick you up, and we'll all drive together. Well, that's the day that I learned as well as Bernie could pilot his boat, he couldn't drive for crap. Getting there was daylight, it wasn't too bad, but coming home, it was dark. And Bernie was going 45 miles an hour in the left lane on the PA Turnpike. And needless to say, there was a whole line of cars flashing their lights and honking behind us. Finally, when he pulled over into the right lane, the cars came by, they were flashing, honking, people leaning out the windows, yelling. Bernie rolled down his window and took both hands off the wheels to put his Stanley Cup rings out the window. And then turned to those of us in the car and said, how about that? They're cheering for me. Ed Snyder Youth Hockey and Education was fortunate to have Bernie as its ambassador for 20 years. It was a role he took most seriously. Bernie never missed a Snyder event. He never missed an opportunity to share words of encouragement with our students. He took pride in instilling the understanding that being part of a team is one of life's blessings. And this helped give our kids a sense of belonging. By showing our young people that he believed in them, Bernie led them to believe in themselves and in their ability to succeed in life. He consistently urged them to discover and pursue their passion. Another quick story. You know, one of our biggest fundraising events is a golf tournament that we call the Snyder Cup. And like we do at all of our events, we often ask some of the kids from our foundation to come up and speak and talk about the impact that the foundation has made on them. And we had a young rising star, her name was Jade, speak at one of the events at Aronimink Golf Club. And she started off and she was doing really well, but all of a sudden, she just froze up. I mean, it was a real Mitch McConnell moment. Without hesitating, Bernie popped out of his chair, went over, grabbed her hand and said, come on, we can get through this. And that gave her the confidence she needed to finish the speech flawlessly. Bernie truly believed that he won life's eternal lottery. He believed that he was given something that he didn't necessarily deserve, and this compelled him to give back to others. We'll never forget the bumper sticker, "Only the Lord saves more than Bernie Parent." But aside from the goals he saved, Bernie should be remembered for what he gave. He gave us himself, and his spirit will live with us. It's a beautiful thing.
Let's hear it again for Scott and the Ed Snyder Youth Hockey and Education. Outstanding. Next, we welcome to the stage to speak Philadelphia Flyers legends and former Bernie Parent teammates, Bill Clement, Bill Barber, Joe Watson, and Bob Clark. These Flyers, although they were part of 2 Stanley Cup championship teams and helped solidify one of the league's most iconic and successful franchises. They created what was known as the Broad Street Bullies and established a style of play that embodies our city's blue-collar and hard work ethic. Joining them also on the stage are other legacy Flyers alumni who helped set the standard of success for years to come.
Wow. I didn't realize how old I looked until I got beside these guys. We all look really old now. Without question, Bernie loved all of you, each and every one of you, just like he loved life, and just like he loved his teammates. When I came to the Flyers, I was 6 years younger than Bernie. And thanks to Bernie's leadership and the leadership of so many other veteran players that are all standing behind me, all of our young players felt that our contributions were important. Didn't matter how insignificant they seemed at the time, our veteran players, including Bernie, made us feel that our contributions were really important, really important. I think Bernie spent half of his life laughing, and the rest of the time he spent trying to get everybody else to laugh. That's just the kind of guy Bernie was. At the funniest times, too, our first run to the Stanley Cup, Game 6 at the Spectrum against the Boston Bruins, I'm out to take a face-off to Bernie's left, and just before the puck is dropped, here comes Bernie. Hey, wait, ref, wait a minute, don't drop the puck, don't drop, hey, Billy, come here, Billy. So I turned around and I skated over to him, and all I could see were his eyes, but I could tell he was smiling. And I said, Benny, what is it? And he said, how's she going? I said, what? He said, how's she going? I said, it's going pretty good, Benny. How's it going with you? Good. So I went back and I took the face off. And to this day, I don't know if he was trying to relax me or relax himself. But it didn't matter because that was the day we won our first Stanley Cup. Scott Tharp just referenced the great bumper sticker, "Only the Lord saves more than Bernie Perrant." I know what team Bernie's on now. I just haven't been able to figure out if he's the starter or the backup. But I can guarantee you one thing, the combined save percentage of the team that he is on now is the greatest save percentage in the history of the sport. We love you, Benny.
Gosh, I wish I know where to start here with all the great speakers, but you guys are number one fans in the sports, as I see it, and been here a long time, a very fortunate young kid to come in here and have the opportunity to be part of the Flyers and celebrate Bernie. I can't speak highly enough of how fortunate you are when you come to a team or come to this city and get involved with gentlemen that are back here, and Bernie especially there. He's number one, right? His number is number one. And there's a reason, because he was number one, you know, in my opinion there. Gosh, the one thing about playing for the Flyers was that if you, as a young player, if you made a mistake on the ice, you know Bernie was going to come up with that big save, you know, the save that could save the game. And he showed that through the Cup years. Can't speak highly enough about him as a friend, a teammate, family man. Awesome guy, great people person, personality, and God bless him and his family there. Sad to see him leave us. And anyway, we've learned a lot from Bernie. Thank you.
It certainly is an honor to be here to represent my friend, our friend. I met Bernie in 1963 in Minneapolis. And I was playing hockey for the Minneapolis Bruins. They were a farm team of the Boston Bruins. And we had two goaltenders. Neither one of them could play the game. They were hurt, so they called up Bernie from Niagara Falls Flyers. Bernie comes in, and he plays 2 games for us. Now he's an 18-year-old guy playing against professional athletes. Some of the teams had 4 or 5 former NHL players in these teams he played, and he stoned them both games. We won both games. I'll never forget that. I have so many fine stories about Bernie, but I'm given a time constraint here. I can't talk forever, damn it. But I have a bear story, a hunting story I could tell, but it'd take me 15 minutes, so I'm not going to do that. But one of these days I'll get it out there. But I can honestly say it was an honor and a privilege to play with Barnyard Benny. We had so many laughs and jokes, and there's a story that I can't divulge, but there was a minute to go in the game against Boston. And if you ever watched the film on the game, we're ready to drop the puck, and the referee was Art Scove. And Bernie calls me over. He says, I want Art to come over here. And what he said to me, oh my God almighty, I can't divulge what he said, but it was one of the funniest things I heard. Oh my God. But I know he's looking down on us, smiling, and he looks around, he says, by gosh, I can't believe all those people are for me. Well, we're all for you, Bernie, because if it wasn't for you, we wouldn't have won. I look back when we played Montreal Canadiens in 1976, and we had 2 key injuries. One was Bernie and one was Rick McLeish. And I honestly feel if we had those 2 players playing the series against them, we would have taken Montreal 7 games to beat us. And I just think back to those days and oh my gosh. But I can honestly say it's a privilege to be up here with all my former teammates here and everything else. And we played for one another. We weren't an individual group of athletes. We were a team athletes. And that's why we were successful. And I look at the Flyers today, I love watching this team play. They got so many young kids. And it reminds me of our team in the early 70s. We had a lot of young kids and we were developing everything else. And it's just a matter of time that this team is going to explode and is going to be successful and hopefully win a Stanley Cup the next 3 or 4 years. I know Bernie's up there laughing and smiling and everything else. He'd love to be down here, but I look forward to seeing you again, my friend. Thank you.
A hockey player's life is only a short period of time in his life. And Bernie, besides being the goaltender he was, had a great life. He was a great man. When you win 2 Stanley Cups, it takes the best that everybody on that team can give. It just so happened that Bernie's best was better than the rest of our best, and we got 2 Stanley Cups because of Bernie. We've lost 5 players from the Stanley Cup teams. Barry Ashby, Eddie Van Imp, Billy Flett, Ross Lonsbury, and Ricky McLeish. And now, God bless Bernie, because he's going to join them And the rest of us, until we go join them, we will walk together forever. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you all for being here. Joe Watson, you said something. You referred to your teammates as your former teammates. I want to assure you that they're not former teammates. They're teammates today, they're teammates tomorrow, and they'll be teammates for the rest of the time. And we are so grateful to you, Captain Bob Clark, and the entire team for the joy that you've brought us. And one last salute to Bernie Parent. Thank you and good night.
Comcast Spectacor Chairman, Flyers Governor Dan Hilferty, bidding everyone good night. A beautiful hour of tribute to the late, great Bernie Parent, capped by the once and forever captain Bob Clark, the former president of the Flyers. What words of tribute and love. We'll take a break, we come back, and Al and I will wrap up the festivities.
I traveled each and every highway and more.
He wore number one, and he was number one. No truer words have been spoken, certainly not tonight, as Bernie's number hangs low tonight, as well as the first of two Stanley Cup championships the Flyers won, the two for the team that we're still talking about 51 years later. Al Morgani, I'm Michael Barkan. Al, anything in particular stick out to you that's emblematic of this night?
Well, they just hit every note, right from Lauren Hart, the God Bless America, right through it. You know, when you hear words, they can sound like, oh, it's a nice saying, but walk together forever. And you see all those guys from those teams up there on the stage and how much they just were forever together. It was a perfect testament to a life well lived.
Yeah. I love the Joe Watson story.
He's
Joe
not going to tell you the stories.
Kept analyzing us with the story that he couldn't tell, and it was just prior to the Flyers winning the Stanley Cup, their first one, and Bernie called him over and said, come here. He said, I can't repeat it.
Yeah.
But it had to do with how much they were going to enjoy
the summer. Yes. And they did enjoy the summer.
Jeannie, it's kind of odd to talk about this as if it was something festive, but in fact it was a tribute to a life well lived, and as Bob Clark said, you know, a hockey player's career is very, very short, but in his life it makes up just a part.
Yeah. And Kim Parent was so
beautiful.
It was just tremendous. Her speech, and it's everything that these guys meant to the city. It just goes on and on and on, and it's I don't know that any team it can ever be repeated to have such an association with a group of athletes.
Yeah, you remember they were an expansion team. They weren't expected to do what they did, let alone win the Stanley Cup and to have not just one parade but two parades. But you're right, Al. Kim Parent saying, I was so lucky to be his daughter, and he wants me to smile and not be sad. and we were two peas, one pod. And I think that's how we all felt with Bernie Parent. We were all in there in his pod, and that will always be the case. And as Bob Clark said, you know, one day we're going to join him and the other 5 Flyers who have passed on. Until then, we will walk together forever. And in no small way, we will all join them because we enjoyed the fruits of their labor. Thanks for watching. We'll see you soon. Good night.